All right, hello everyone. Welcome to a rather last-minute session of Tox Talks. If you've seen the show before, welcome back. You've probably seen myself, Alex, with the Washington Poison Center. You've probably seen Fiorella with the Virginia Poison Center, and we are super lucky today to feature two directors of poison centers. We're joined by Dr. Lopez, who's the executive director of the Georgia Poison Center, as well as Dr. Phillips, who's the medical director of the Washington Poison Center. So we're just going to dive right in this morning. We're here to talk about ivermectin, as everyone's talking about ivermectin. And we figured, because we're getting quite a few calls on this particular substance, that we have a unique perspective we could help weigh in on and help clear some myths around it. So let's just get going. Dr. Lopez, to start us off, what exactly is ivermectin?
Yeah, so it's a medication currently approved for use in everything from parasites to skin conditions and even head lice. So it's been around for a minute or two, and it's typically in that prescription form.
All right, thank you. Dr. Phillips, is there anything you want to add to that about just some of the basics of ivermectin?
Oh, I always have something to say, Alex. You know that. So ivermectin it has an interesting history. It was found in Japan by a scientist in 1970 in a streptomyces bacteria. And he sent it to one of his buddies to look at, and they noticed that it killed parasites in mice. And that led to its formulation of for human use. That was around the early 1980s, I believe. And it was actually the result of a Nobel Prize winning medication for its use to prevent river blindness and lymphatic filariasis. So it has an important medical history for us when it's used in its appropriate forms, the tablets and creams and lotions. So it has a long, safe history when used appropriately.
Well, that makes sense. But so why are we seeing a surge in let's say, media? I mean, we're seeing a lot of that in poison centers getting calls on this.
Sure. Well, a little of the background for that is in 2016-17, there was a researcher that looked at ivermectin, and particularly for Zika virus, some people pronounce it. And Zika virus, when treated with very, very high concentrations of this in a culture of cells in a petri dish, seemed to reduce the reproductive rate of Zika virus. And from that, it's been taken that it may have effect in other viruses, but it hasn't been conclusively demonstrated in the right kind of scientific trials for coronavirus. Now, those trials are ongoing by CDC, by under FDA regulations now and NIH. So we don't have those results, and I think that's an important thing to keep in perspective here, that it's being used without a lot of scientific background at this point.
Excellent, thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, with your perspective on the kind of media surge, Dr. Lopez?
Well, sure. The media obviously has latched on to this because there are a number of us out there who may be having a little vaccine hesitancy, looking for other answers than just what's been provided to us. And so in an age where we can all play doctor by looking up a couple things, you put in a couple of keywords like antiviral or anti-inflammatory, then all of a sudden you think you can treat yourself, and so it doesn't surprise us that there are folks that are doing this and in large numbers, and this is why the poison centers are surging in these calls in the last couple of last 2-3 months. Is just because there has been increased awareness of therapeutics, and right now, with basically vaccines being what's touted, people are thinking there's got to be other answers, and there are probably things that that the government, that other folks are not telling us. And so that natural curiosity is probably leading to a lot of this.
Right. Right. Thank you. So the four of us represent three distinct poison centers, and we're all seeing some slightly different numbers with this. So, Dr. Lopez, what's happening with the Georgia Poison Center with ivermectin cases?
Yeah, we've been looking at our data, and certainly the surge has occurred really for us in the last month. As I reviewed some of the data for 21. We've received more calls in the month of August than we have had in the previous 7 months. And so with a volume now of close to at least a volume in August of over 90 calls, more than half of those came starting August 1. So we've definitely seen a surge and lots of people asking questions and lots of people taking this stuff.
Right. Dr. Phillips, what are we seeing in Washington?
Well, of course, our data pretty much mirrors the data that Dr. Lopez is seeing in Georgia. And in fact, it's nationwide when you look at all poison center data combined. And our calls in August also went up significantly, and actually maybe starting to trail off a little bit. It's not quite clear because we don't have a lot of data in September yet. But there has been a big surge in cases nationwide, and that's reflected on what Dr. Lopez and myself are seeing as well.
Fiorella, how about you with the Virginia Poison Center? What are you guys seeing in Virginia?
So we're not necessarily seeing big numbers, but we are seeing an increase. One thing that we started to take notice is that in the past, I would say, even like a year ago, most of our calls would be animal calls. So they would call and perhaps trying to figure out if an animal was exposed to too much of this medicine. But this time, we are seeing the difference that is human exposure calls.
Right. And something I want to a point I'd like to make is a lot of the cases we're seeing with ivermectin, the total numbers are not huge relative to so many other substances. What is alarming, though, is the percent increase. And anytime there's a spike up or down, it has us pause and want to look at that data and better understand it a little more.
Absolutely. And that's something that, again, nationwide we're seeing. And you can take a look at the American Association of Poison Control Centers online, and they have an updated bulletin on information on what we're seeing and the increase you can see nationwide. So what kind of symptoms are poison centers seeing with this type of calls, Dr. Phillips?
The most common symptoms are gastrointestinal symptoms, so nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. But occasionally we'll have patients with blurred vision, maybe low blood pressure, a little dizziness, confusion. In very large exposures, you can have seizures and hallucinations and coma. We have not had those yet, but we have had confusion cases. So that's kind of what we've been seeing for most of the gastrointestinal symptoms.
Okay. Any other ones to list, Dr. Lopez?
No, I echo that exact same set of symptoms, but to add that obviously taking livestock varieties and having these symptoms are obviously what's troubling. But what's surprising to us, in addition to the symptoms that Dr. Phillips talked about, some of these folks are rather intelligent. So it's really surprising that they're actually doing it with these type of products. Very precise, a few of them with dosing and proportions and things like that. This is not just the uninformed. These folks are very sophisticated, and yes, they are calling in about some of these unusual symptoms and wondering, are they related? Is this consistent with? And yeah, we're confirming that these symptoms are in fact consistent with the type of exposures they've just had.
Right. Thank you both for walking us through that. This has been a fairly a quick stream. We're heading toward the end here, but we always like to wrap things up with some safety messaging, especially as it pertains to poison centers. So message number one is please always follow the directions on medications. Only take medications that are prescribed to you and for you. Don't take meds that are not prescribed for you or not prescribed for humans. And we talked a little bit about folks taking versions of ivermectin that are intended for livestock, and there's so much more that can go wrong beyond just having the wrong dose. Something that we see a lot in poison centers is folks taking a medication through the wrong route of administration, and so that means eating a topical product or mixing up that route. So please keep that route, what it needs to be. And something we want folks to know is you can literally always call the poison center. If you call that national 1-800 number, you will be routed to your local poison center based on your area code. We're literally always open 24/7, every single holiday. Someone who's extremely well trained will answer that call. Even after watching this, you're like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. And you do have a mistake with ivermectin. Still, please call us. We are not a judgmental group. We're not a shame-based group. Our entire point is to reduce harm and prevent toxic exposures to any substance. And so that is our goal in that phone call, is to help you out. So as we wrap up, are there any final statements that either of our experts would like to share? Let's start with you, Dr. Lopez.
Yeah, clearly, the public, they're searching for answers. And as you mentioned, we're not judging, we're not here to shame, but we're there to provide the latest and greatest information. And granted, they're looking for more answers than we can provide. And for us, we need to still be compassionate. We still need to be understanding, which I know we are. This is a difficult time. There are not a lot of answers out there, or at least answers that are satisfying to the public, but hopefully they'll continue to trust us and believe in some of the information we share. And as you mentioned, Alex, around the clock, we've got those kind of individuals working in poison centers across the nation. And hopefully our audience will take you up on calling us if we can answer a question of yours.
Absolutely. Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Dr. Phillips?
Well, I think I'd just like to echo what Dr. Lopez said, that, while these scientific studies are undergoing, just be careful with, a medication for a horse is about 400 times the dose as our human dose that we don't see a problem with. So there's a real risk with these. And so if a person gets into trouble, please call us at 1-800-222-1222. That'll route you to your local or regional poison center. And, we're happy to help no matter what the circumstances are.
Excellent. Thank you. How about you, Fiorella? Any final thoughts?
Well, just that if you're considering or thinking about taking like ivermectin, some people are taking it over the counter, which is the one that's meant for horses. It's best, we'd say, for everything to talk to your doctor, consult your doctor with your doctor, and ask them, if this is a good idea. Because just with anything, it can also interact with things. So that's what we like to say. Please, don't just do it. Like, go ahead and consult with your doctor. And if you know of anyone has taken it or yourself, again, you can give us a call at that 1-800-222-1222 number. And we have experts in toxicology that've been, dealing with any kind of toxicology call. So yeah, give us a call.
Absolutely. And I promise whoever picks up that call has heard of a weirder setup and story than yours. So you're in good hands with them. All right, folks, with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you all so much for viewing either live or the recording. Be kind to one another and stay safe. Until next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.